Hello everyone, just Goran here, and welcome back to Dierenrijk. We've been here once before in a video, like all the way at the start when we first started out this series. And we're back because there's a special event. Well, it's already over now, but there was a special event with the zoo being filled with dinosaurs. So of course, I'm joined here by the one and only Wyatt Andrews Workshop. Hello.
Hello everybody.
Wyatt, of course, joined us last time we saw a dino related thing.
Yes.
And this time I decided to give him a little bit more time to actually talk about the dinosaurs. So this one doesn't have a sign, but maybe you'll be able to tell us something.
Given like the build, because at first I thought it was like an ornithomimosaur, but the teeth are sort of a dead giveaway that it's not. It might be like a coelophysis. It's just that one is pretty popular and it vaguely resembles this one, but these are noticeably more animated this time around.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I don't suppose those parrot noises have coming out of it, but
no, we can hear a slightly different noise.
Yes.
But yeah, these are indeed animated, audible dinosaurs. They are truly alive. It is quite the experience.
Walking past some living dinosaurs to the right there.
Some living dinosaurs over there. So yeah, here we are at the entrance. So that was our first little dinosaur friend. I'm not actually sure what company made these dinosaurs. Like I'm assuming they're rented out to zoos like this to just put them up for a while.
In the States, we have one that I think is just called the Dinosaur Company, and they do all of like the temporary like animatronic displays for zoos around the country. So,
right.
It didn't resemble like the line of like models they had. So this is definitely a different one.
Right. So we're also gonna be checking out some of the areas we missed in the last video. And the last video was like in the midst of COVID, so there were a lot of things closed, a lot of things I didn't get to check out. So over here we're in like the restaurant gift shop. I don't think that was actually closed last time, but I was just not too insecure to record it. So we're gonna look at some more things of those as well. But first of all, like we have dinosaurs everywhere, so those are the main focus of this video. So if you're not into those, then well,
leave.
Too bad. You should be. Dinosaurs are freaking cool. Here we have a Pachycephalosaurus.
Oh yes. I think like what I noticed about the supposed coelophysis and that one is that the models, I think, to be like more naturally stable with the low budget materials they have, all of the sort of limbs and stuff like that are very sort of like chunky and like uber muscular, just because they have to stand and not like fall over. I think usually in more like high budget models, like you might have heard ones by like Blue Rhino Studio.
I haven't, but
okay.
I'll take
those are that's like a really high quality like model making production company, and the sort of like limbs and proportions on those are sort of a lot slimmer and less exaggerated because they use high quality materials and don't have to worry about.
I mean, I imagine they also
over.
have to be like able to repair them and reassembled, or
exactly.
They're rubbery, of course, because of the moving parts. Over here, this one also didn't have a sign. I think this might be a baryonyx.
Yeah, that's definitely a sort of late 90s, early 2000s baryonyx, because baryonyx and other spinosaurids, material has been, like complete material has been sort of relatively recently discovered. So things like the snouts and stuff like that were sort of made up back in the day, just because we didn't really have the complete picture. So you'll notice a lot sort of more blunter, thicker snouts, sort of what you'd see in a more traditional theropod. But now we know that they were a lot longer and slimmer. So
interesting.
These little arms just wiggling around are getting me. They're so delightful.
Pretty much all of them have the same movements. You can also see some wear and tear on the eyelid there. You can basically see through it even when it was closed. Yeah.
Oh my.
There's definitely something here. But here we see some nice bee hotels, whatnot.
Cool.
We are gonna walk past the big ticket dinosaur for a moment to go into this indoor. I don't know what the English word for that game would be. It's like monkey games, monkey bars. I don't know.
Monkey bars.
Inside here, there's a big indoor playground and also the indoor viewing area of the chimpanzees.
Very cool.
And I think this is very cool. Like the theming of this playground area. Like there's like storage crates, just wooden things. There's penny press because of course there is. But also the walls are completely in theme, in the kind of drawing style that this zoo has, which is a bit cartoonish, a bit straight edges. Kind of. I'm not an expert on like drawing styles and stuff like that, but
yeah,
it's the style of the zoo, which is really cool to see, like represented in all of that.
Totally.
And last video that Wyatt was in, we were in Amersfoort Zoo, and we talked a lot about reverse habitat immersion, and we're actually going to see some of that again in this zoo, and especially over here. We can see this brick path
the brick. Yeah,
going
that's so
through
cool.
the glass into the viewing area, and also we'll see in a second it goes outside of the outside window as well. So it's like double immersion basically.
Reverse.
And what we could also see just now was like the ceiling over here is of course meshed over so that the zookeepers can go on top and throw stuff down onto the chimpanzees when they're feeding them and stuff like that. I think that's pretty standard for indoor chimpanzee enclosures. So yeah, it's cool to see that as well. Yeah, just more of this indoor playground, more stuff.
I love all the chairs strewn about for the parents.
For the parents, it's just yep, you're here now. You're stuck here now.
Would you want to see animals?
So up here, there's like a thing that goes up, and it's up against the wall with the chimpanzee. So I actually wonder if there's an alternate viewing area up there that only the kids could get to. I think that would be really cool if that were the case. I couldn't tell because I am not capable of climbing that thing. I think I've grown a bit too much for that. But yeah, over here there's also a door going outside. We'll see the other side of that door in a moment. As we're gonna go around the zoo, explore some of the nooks and crannies that I didn't go to last time we were here. So over here there's a separate room as well. This is the Friend Kingdom.
Friend Kingdom.
Of course, this zoo is called Dierenrijk, or Animal Kingdom. So a lot of different buildings or areas are also kingdoms. So you got like the Bird Kingdom, and this is the Friend Kingdom, which just has a bunch of little animals. So here we have a corn snake, just nice little terrarium for that. We have the Indian stick insect, which we'll see in a moment. So, also over here there's like a little donation thing where you can donate your old phone to like help gorillas and chimpanzees in the wild. It's a
I've heard about
thing.
this.
A lot of zoos do this.
Movement like that before. Yeah.
So over here we have the stick insects, just a nice small terrarium once again. So there's just a bunch of these terrariums put inside of these walls, and yeah, you can see that. This room of course was closed last time I was at the zoo due to COVID, because all indoor areas were closed, which was a bit of a bummer. Here we have the giant African land snail, which
this is weird because in Planet Zoo they're kept in a 4 meter by 4 meter
I
jungle.
was about to make the same stupid joke. Thank you.
These are awfully small. Very disappointing.
Yeah, true.
I hate that I can see the animals so clearly.
So here, speaking of seeing them clearly, here we have a vague shape that should be a Chilean rose tarantula. It's nicely hidden away in the dark. And then the biggest of all these exhibits is the entire back wall. Oh wait, no. Climate control. Thermostat. Don't touch the thermostat. No, here we have the biggest of them, which is the green iguana,
Cool.
which takes up the entire back wall. But what I almost find more interesting in this room is the interactive education. As people might know at this point, I'm a huge fan of any form of interactive education, no matter how small. And this room has this giant display. Oh wait, I'm distracted by a radiator, of course. This giant display over here, which just has several interactive educational exhibits, each about a different topic, a different little interaction thing. I think that's pretty cool. I would say I'm not sure about putting them all in one place. I think that kind of makes it less effective. It's also broken at the moment. Like, I think over here you're supposed to press a button of like a problem and then press the button of the solution to that problem. But none of the buttons do anything.
Reminding me a lot of the children's zoo at the Los Angeles Zoo, which is actually my like local zoo, the one closest to me. And the children's zoo has a whole bunch of like interactive displays and stuff like that, but like none of them work, and they haven't worked for like 10 years.
Yeah, it's a real bummer. That's kind of one of the downsides of interactive things like this. Is that yes, they do break and they cost money to fix, so probably won't be the first thing to be fixed.
I feel like most zoos, like that's why most zoos don't really bother with that kind of stuff, especially if it's like electronic.
Yeah. So over here, here's something similar to that. We have a touchscreen, which is not very very responsive, but it's all about red pandas, and you can play like different games that quiz you about facts about the red panda, and in the meantime also teach you about problems that red pandas face in the wild. I think this one is fun, though. Personally, I like to make games that make some sort of sense, you know. Whereas this house, like the House of Regess, which we're about to go to, we're going back in time a little bit to when this was working. This is like a half a year ago. So here you are helping this villager heat up his house by answering questions about red pandas. So,
naturally.
Yeah. There's no real connection between those two activities. So it's fun. It's making this like quiz thing a little more interactive, and it's while you're answering questions about the animal, you are being introduced to the problems and the solutions to the problem, which is like the villagers are cutting wood to heat their homes, but they're not doing it very efficiently, so that's why the Red Panda Network offers these people these rocket stoves which burn wood much more efficiently. That's what it's trying to teach you about, but I feel like the way it's doing that is a little, I mean, it works, but I feel like it could be done differently or better somehow. But yeah, and then there's just a thing of like all of these educational exhibits in one place. No one except me is going to take their time to actually do all of them. I would think someone might try one or two and then probably move on, or other people in their group would want to move on at that point. So I feel like that kind of undermines the effort that gets put into making these as well a little bit.
Something I enjoy about going to like zoos and theme parks and stuff by myself is that I have like total control over what I do, and oftentimes that's not what the group would want, but I'm all by myself, so it's fine.
Yep. So what we saw just now was like a little thing about elephants and how the civilization encroaching on their territory is kind of driving them apart or forcing them to live closer to civilization, which of course is pretty dangerous. And this is about vultures, about releasing vultures back into the wild, which is actually something that this zoo has done. They have released some griffon vultures in Bulgaria, I think. And yeah, this display is about that, about like what is a suitable place to release vultures. There needs to be rocks, there needs to be away from power lines, away from villages, stuff like that.
And this one caught my eye immediately.
Yeah, this one is so stupidly simple but fun. It's like, oh, clean up your plastic, and you just... Of course, this is one of those things where parents will be like, oh, my kids never want to clean, but then here it's like, oh, mama, I want to clean.
Mama, I want to save the beach.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I wonder if this trash was put here on purpose, or if it just also people just dump their trash in because they're like, huh.
They're putting a lot of trust in people to like A, not put their trash in there, and B, not like put that trash on the floor.
But yeah, and then here's the last one, which is all about the Jane Goodall Institution. And here you can press a button, and then through the phone you can listen to a little message from Jane Goodall and other people that are part of that organization. It's not very audible in the video, but it's pretty nice. It's pretty fun. It's just a different way a different take on like audio education, basically, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so that was that. Then we're going right outside to the big boy.
Big boy.
What dinosaur is this? I don't really recognize it.
It's sort of like a woolly mammoth, I think.
So, what's fun about these dinosaurs, which I didn't actually realize until this one of the other guests pointed out to me, is they're actually motion controlled. So there's like a motion sensor, and if you walk in front of them, that's when you activate the animation and the sound effect. So this one, I don't know why they picked that sound.
So like,
it's I mean, it's fair enough, right? At first I thought, okay, sure, they probably don't have like licenses to the more well-known dinosaur, but no, as we'll see later on, they used the Jurassic Park T-Rex sound for other dinosaurs, but not for the T-Rex.
Yeah, as far as T-Rex reconstructions go, this is it's sort of like the others. It's sort of very bulky and rubbery, but it's your traditional like sort of 90s 2000s T-Rex.
Yeah, you can see that they're probably a little bit dated, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is something I wanted to point out. Over here you can donate money and get a little surprise. And I wondered what the surprise was, but when I was editing the video I actually noticed that we could see it going off in the background.
It's rising.
So it starts making stork noises and like spinning around a bit, which...
that is terrifying.
I mean, it's fun. It's whatever. Oh yeah, here we can sadly see one of the signs is gone, because the Asiatic black bears that used to be here have sadly passed away. Which is a bummer, because those are actually pretty rare in Europe, and I'm happy to have seen them, because now I have actually... Sorry.
No, they're being phased out of the North American zoos as well, along with sun bears. So. Yeah,
it's a bummer. I'm glad to have seen them, because now, as of recently, I've actually seen every bear species, which is pretty cool. But yeah, we have a little backstage peek. We can also see one of the dinosaurs from here. That's actually probably most we get to see of it, because I forgot to look at it when we actually went past it. But yeah, so over here we have the Asian small-clawed otter habitat, which last time the little bridge that goes over it, we'll see in a second. Here we can see the otters in their little shelter. There's a little bridge, like ropes course, that goes over this habitat, which was closed last time. I don't know why. Like, it was because of COVID, but I don't see why that had to be closed.
Yeah.
And over here we have the banded mongoose habitat, which now has a crested porcupine, And last time we were at the zoo in this series, we actually saw a little sign that the rest of the program were going to be added soon. Well, here they are.
Nice.
And we can hear the gibbons in the background. They are audible throughout the entire zoo, obviously.
Then I don't suppose like these sort of areas where it's just like yards are sort of themed to anything.
No, it's not much. It's actually the entire zoo is pretty unthemed. It's a pretty. I don't want to say low budget zoo. It's pretty like a medium-sized zoo. But
These are very nice exhibits, even though the theming is minimal. But
yeah, no, it's. I feel like it's often the case with this company. The exception being Zoo Park Overloon, is they don't go super much into the theming, and mainly just sticking to letting the animals and the habitat speak for itself, basically. Which I think definitely has its strengths as well.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, here we have the duckweed covered pond, and we could actually see. I don't know if I already pointed it out or not in editing, and I just literally just skipped over it again. But we could see the dinosaur in the background here, but you can still see it on the top right. Well, now you can't anymore. But yeah, I just completely missed it. I don't know how. I guess I was just distracted by the porcupine or something. But yeah, there was a dinosaur back there. There were no signs or anything. Oh, here it is. Yeah, there we can see it.
There it is. Got him.
some
generic theropod.
Something, yeah. So next up we have not a dinosaur, but something.
Let's see what this is, because I don't know what this is supposed to be.
This is a Confucius.
Oh, Confucius ornus.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks.
Decidedly not to scale. Looking at the comparison.
I was gonna say, yeah. It even says on the sign like height 1 meter, and it's like, really?
It's pretty regular bird size, but Confucius ornus was what we call an enantiornithine, which are a group of extinct birds that still had teeth and claws, as you can see on the wings there, but at this point they were pretty much more bird than reptile.
Right. Cool. Yeah, and they weren't this big.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's actually fun to see. Like, the zoo tried their best with the signs to like slightly rectify some of the things. Like, we'll see it with some of the other dinosaurs as well. It's pretty fun.
I wonder what this could be.
So yeah, over here we have a little indoor view of the lemurs, which is also something that was closed off during COVID. Of course, they didn't want to get people to get too close to the lemurs, so the walkthrough was closed, but now it is no longer, and we can actually go inside, have a look at that. So this is actually a lovely little walkthrough. It is completely netted over, so I'm mostly used to lemur habitats that have a little moat around it, but this one is netted, and it's pretty nice. It's just a nice dense garden. We can also see a little bit of Backstage here. We do love our Backstage peaks.
Absolutely. Something I noticed, because actually right before this I was watching a walkthrough tour of the London Zoo, and they also have a lemur walkthrough, and then I was like reminded of how I don't think there are any lemur walkthrough exhibits in the US, but in Europe there appear to be several.
Yeah, no, it's a very common thing. It's
maybe Americans.
I think there's a huge difference in like liability,
definitely.
Sort of things that, like, if a lemur does anything to an American, they will sue the zoo or something.
Yeah.
Whereas
we
like
can do that.
Here there's a lot more like, don't be an idiot. The sign says don't touch, so don't touch, and it's your own problem. Like, it's the same. We saw it in in the smaller roadside zoos where there's like very little of a barrier between, like only a single mesh barrier between guests and some of the monkeys.
No, like additional fencing and stuff.
Yeah, where that I remember Croc saying like that would not fly in America, you know?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I love how close they got here. They're just so.
That is so cool.
So curious little fellas. But yeah, just they have a bunch of little shelters, all elevated stuff, and there's just a bunch of bamboo around. The nice thing about bamboo, of course, is that it stays green even throughout most of the winter. So that's why you see it a lot in these zoos. Yeah. Yeah, there are some viewing areas on the outside, which is what we looked through last time. Of course, not everyone's gonna have the guts to to expose themselves to the lemurs like this.
They're just so horrifying.
Oh, terrible creatures. Yeah, I mean the red ruffs are a little bit scarier because they are a lot bigger. But yeah. So, we're running up to our next dinosaur now. So, while the aviaries are still closed, they have added a new flying thing to it. So not just the Confusiosaurus.
Yes.
There we go. I'm learning. But we have another flying reptile here. Or actually, no, that one wasn't a flying reptile, right? That was
just a dinosaur, but.
Oh really? It was a dinosaur.
Yeah. So, because since birds are just dinosaurs.
Right. I guess. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Fair enough.
Oh.
So.
Pterodactylus.
Yeah. So this is just a pterodactyl. Of course, the signs are in Dutch. So it's funny how like similar the Dutch names are, but there's like these slight differences just because we have to be special or something.
Those are some very Dorito-shaped wings.
Yeah.
But Pterodactylus, because pterodactyl is like a common name for all pterosaurs, but
sure.
there is one specifically called Pterodactylus, and it was definitely smaller than this. I think it was one of the original pterosaurs discovered. It was originally thought to be like a marsupial or something because we didn't really have any concept of like an extinct flying reptile, so its interpretation has changed a lot over the years.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like when you find like the wings, what would they think about that?
Yeah, exactly. And Maiasaura.
Yeah. So this one has the best sound. Can you hear it?
I know.
That's Godzilla.
No.
I don't know why they chose Godzilla for literally the most,
noise.
like the nicest, most motherly of dinosaurs. Yeah, and of course depicted with their young, which is pretty fitting. So,
for those who don't know, Maiasaura was a duck-billed dinosaur that was discovered in the 70s, and it was one of the because there were some dinosaurs that were preserved with nests and eggs before, like Oviraptor, but we had assumed that it was actually stealing them. But Maiasaura was the first one where scientists realized that, dinosaurs actually did look after their young and babies, so that was pretty groundbreaking for the time.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for... I was waiting for you to say that. I was like, this is why you're here.
You had good material.
Of course, we're getting some backstage peeks. So here we are at the Gibbons that we've been hearing for quite a while. Checking out this little path, which I skipped over last time. I don't remember if it was closed or not, but I didn't go here. So we're on the other side of the what used to be the bear and Corsac fox habitat, and now it's just the Corsac foxes. So we
I didn't realize the foxes could cohabitate with the bears.
Yeah, no. In Beekse Bergen they also cohabitate with the soft bears.
Right.
I feel like, yeah, they're actually being mixed quite a bit. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the Corsac fox, I'll be honest.
It's doubly interesting with the sloth bears because sloth bears are like the most aggressive territorial species of bear.
From what I've heard, the true rulers of that habitat at Beeksberg are actually the Asian small-clawed otters.
Oh,
like they bully the bears.
I can imagine because otters are very feisty, contrary to popular belief.
But yeah, so this is kind of I explained this to Wyatt before we started recording. I guess I should explain it here as well. So the layout of the zoo is kind of like a big circle, which is kind of the main walking route. And then where we are now is kind of in the middle of that circle. We have these few paths that kind of connect the different areas. I guess they're kind of shortcuts. There's not a lot to see here, except like a couple of alternate views into the biggest main habitats. So of course we just saw some alternate views into those Corsac foxes, and over here we have a big alternate viewing area for the chimpanzee habitat. So the reason I wanted to show this is, first of all, it's just something cool that we haven't seen before, especially these views, but also just this kind of empty area in the middle of the zoo it's kind of boring, but I think that's exactly what I aim to show with this series. Is just every nook and cranny of these zoos. Like every zoo has these weird, like maybe not weird, but these emptier areas, and that's also interesting to see and replicate in your Planet Zoo project. So I think that's definitely
that's something I decidedly struggle with, is like leaving things kind of empty and boring sometimes.
Yeah, because same. I was working in Iben's zoo, and they had this like promenade, and I was like, oh, there's no animals here, I should add some. And then I rewatched their video talking about it, and they were like, yeah, it's so nice that there's no animals here. I'm like, oh, whoops.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, over here we have this little tent. So this is actually a lot more themed.
Yeah, I was gonna say the theming with like the notes on the wall and stuff is really cool.
Yeah, so there's just some notes, like it's like researchers' notes on the chimpanzees, which is inadvertently also educating a little bit about the different things that chimpanzees do or eat or stuff like that. Over here, this tent almost does a good enough job at blocking out the sunlight and reducing the glare. It's just barely works. But yeah, over here we can see some very clear reverse habitat immersion once again, with that log over there going through the wall.
Oh,
that's
very
just
cool.
A textbook example right there.
Love that.
And the same thing with the concrete on the floor and stuff like that. But yeah, we've already seen the indoor habitat from the other side. So this is that door, and over here we can see where that little brick path ended up. So that ends up over here and joins the main road. So yeah, pretty cool. I like it a lot. But it's time for us to head back and see if we can find some more dinosaurs. I'm pretty sure it takes us a little while actually. We have a lot more backstage stuff to see, and some random things, some really random things actually. But here's the gate for the chimpanzee habitat, the keeper gate. Just this episode is a mess of just random stuff. But yeah, there's a playground, alternate view of the big elephant yard.
Cool. They have African or Asian?
They have Asian elephants. Yeah. Which is kind of cool actually, because this zoo is actually of the same company as Beekse so it's kind of fun how they have Beekse which is mainly Africa focused. You have this zoo which has like a lot more European and Asian species. And they also have Zoo Park Overloon, which has a lot more South America species. So with their zoos combined, they actually have like most, if not all of the continents kind of covered in a very wide range of species, which I think is really cool. animals. Yeah.
Foxes have a big space on their own.
Yeah, now that the bears are gone, exactly. So here's something fun I wanted to point out. I really like when zoos have just random education signs about things that have almost nothing to do with zoos. Like, this is not something you would see in any other zoo, probably. But it's an education sign about electricity masts, like electricity wires. Because inside of this habitat there's this big thing.
Just inside of the red pandas, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's not really something that you can move easily. So it's just kind of just build through it.
Efficient use of space.
Yeah, it's slightly jarring, but yeah, the zoo can't do much about it, I guess. They just have to deal with the cards they've been dealt, so.
I think if I was a red panda, I would just really want to climb that thing.
Yeah, it's they definitely protected it as well as they could, because that's something you want to avoid, for sure. But yeah, over here we are at the back of this red panda exhibit, which is something I didn't go to last time. Once again, and over here you can actually review right into the tree that I think they like spending a lot of their time, so it's really nice that you can actually get up here. Because yeah, these are my favorite animals. I just had to find.
Couldn't tell.
I couldn't not include them in the video. I had to find an excuse. Yeah. Over here we also have another view into that lemur habitat that I didn't actually know existed. So there we go. I don't know why they just happened to all be here, why this I was recording, but I was very lucky. So, dinosaur time.
Oh boy.
We have a Dilophosaurus. So, yeah. I can ask a stupid question if you want.
Okay.
Why doesn't it have a frilled neck?
Well, that and the venom spitting ability we saw in Jurassic Park and most recently in Jurassic World Dominion was entirely made up and is not really supported by any fossils, be it Dilophosaurus or anything related. So yeah, this is decidedly more accurate than the ones in the movie, but shares the same issues with the other models we've seen, where it's very bulky and wrinkly. And it's a good time to note that the various like pits you see in the skull, like all those like holes and compressions and stuff, those are in the skull, but those definitely wouldn't have been like visible when the animal was alive and had flesh, because that's a phenomenon we call shrink wrapping in paleo art, where the skin does little to cover the bones, and that's usually what you would see in like a malnourished animal and not like a healthy one. So
yeah, isn't there like a thing that people draw current day current day skeletons of animals in that way to show like how messed up that looks?
Exactly, yeah, like I think it's called like the All Today's movement, where like people are drawing like animals as if they were like outdated reconstructions of dinosaurs, and you get some pretty freaky results. Yeah.
So yeah, cool. I'm kind of starting, like, now that I'm looking at it, and you keep mentioning like how bulky they are, I'm kind of starting to have the feeling that a lot of these theropods are just built off of the same base, and they just kind of change the head.
I wouldn't be surprised, because they are doing a lot of the same things movement-wise too.
But yeah, over here we got a little bit more backstage joy for everyone. So finally, I was able to check out the inside of the elephant stalls. So
see, they're doing the same thing at the Beaks of Bergen, where it's the logs and the walls. That's really cool.
Exactly. Yeah, and we have a dry mode over here, so it's really nice. I'm actually a really big fan of this type of stall, and also just the fact that how open they are to visitors seeing the backstages of these animals. Especially back here, where you can even see like all of the individual stalls, and I feel like it's closed right now, and I'm not sure why, but I feel like this staircase used to be open and you could actually go up there to see even more of the backstage, including the holding of the I forget which species of monkey is out on the elephant field with them. But yeah, I think that's really neat that they just are so open about showing this stuff.
That's another thing Beaksybarian does too with the monkeys and the elephants, but I forget which kind it does because in your park file it's mandrill, I think.
Yeah, in real life it's a Hamadryas baboon.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and Dierenrijk, I don't have the map nearby, otherwise I could have checked really easily. But yeah, here we can see even more of the backstage from the other side. This is not open to visitors, but I was able to get a peek because the door was open. And yeah, this is where they would do the elephant show. They do like a little presentation where they show how they train the elephants for like dental checkups and stuff. But that's not what we're here for. We are here for this beautiful.
Oh, I see what they're doing. I see what they're trying to do. This, assuming there's no sign to correct me, is a Cosmoceratops, which is famous for the. You see all those horns at the top of the frill that are pointing downwards or inwards, and between that and the horns on its eyes and nose, I think it has the most horns of like any animal. Period. I think there's like 12
cool.
on the entire skull. Yeah.
That is cool. Yeah, I thought it was when I came here. Like I was not familiar with this dinosaur at all, and I was like, "Oh, where's my Triceratops?" But, yeah, no, it is really nice to be also introduced to actually something new when you go to a place like this, and not just see your most well-known ones.
Actually, I think it was discovered in like 2013, so I don't really blame the general public for not latching onto it quite yet.
But yeah, so just before there's another split in the road, and if you go to the left, which we did last time, you follow the main route, which you can see back there. But going to the right over here, we get back into that kind of central zone of I don't know what to call it, the shortcut zone, I guess. Where we can see more backstage. Here we have the gate to the wild boar habitat, and we can see the backstage building of the boars and the reindeers as well, which is just always good to see.
Yeah.
Like, this episode is all for your backstage goodies.
Take many screenshots.
take all the screenshots you want. So also we can hear our next dinosaur now. Of course, Wyatt, being such an expert, knows exactly which dinosaur is coming up purely based off that sound.
Apparently not, because I don't hear anything. But
oh crap!
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Oh yeah. It's gonna take a little longer because there's one more thing I want to check out, which is this little tunnel over here, which we weren't able to go inside because. Literally, like, I guess this counts as an inside area, so even this was closed during COVID. But here we have a little view into the indoor shelter of the reindeer, and just barely I could see actually have a little baby over here, which of course reindeer are liars. I'm not sure what the English term for it is, but among like antelopes and that sort of animals, you have liars and runners, and the liars, like, the mother puts them down somewhere and then just leaves them all day to go get food, whereas the runners,
I see what you mean.
Yeah, the runners, they walk along with the herd, like, from day one. So it was kind of funny to see the little baby reindeer just lying over there, all abandoned, but this is adorable. Also, really nice to see is the antlers just starting to grow here. I don't know what was happening here and what provoked them to run like that, but that was cool, I guess. Yeah, especially over here with the male, seeing those fleshly grown antlers is just really cool. Seeing all the fur on it still.
Yeah.
I always think that's so interesting about antlers, how they kind of grow from the the blood vessels are on the outside of the antlers, and they shed them once they're fully grown. But yeah, here we have another backstage peek, and then we're gonna get to our dinosaur.
Oh boy. Did see some badgers on the left there.
Yeah, no, those were always there. Actually, funnily enough, the zoo doesn't have any badgers. I feel like they might have used to, because this used to be like a Europe-focused zoo before they expanded to a lot of other stuff. But yeah, over here we have our pretty dated, probably, Spinosaurus.
So yeah, Spinosaurus, another decidedly dated reconstruction, which I can't necessarily blame them for, because a lot of the changes that have come with Spinosaurus have been very recent in the last decade or so. Among them being much shorter legs and probably much less bulky legs. These guys are very jacked, but shorter legs. Aren't really sure what the consensus is on the shape of the sail. It could have been sort of a more square shape or a rounder shape. We just don't really have enough material to be sure.
I see daily tweets about people arguing over it, I feel like sometimes.
Everything to do with Spinosaurus is the subject of pretty heated debate. But and then most recently we found out that a tail actually had sort of a paddle on it, like a newt or an eel or something like that. So that basically confirms that Spinosaurus was a capable swimmer and would have been semi-aquatic, going after fish and crocodiles and stuff like that.
I guess that also would explain the much lesser need of stronger legs or something if he uses tail to propel forward in water.
Yeah, and for a while, upon discovering the shorter legs, people thought it might have been quadrupedal, which is very novel for a theropod, which are traditionally walking on two legs, but ended up deducing that the arms just wouldn't have been able to support that much weight, so it would have most likely waddled around on its hind legs when it was on land.
Yeah, what I thought was pretty interesting about the animatronic right there is that you could see the entire thing wobble as it was moving. But yeah, over here is a small little change, which I think is really interesting. Here's a guinea pig habitat, which used to not have a net over it, but they've added one. So I hope that was just a precaution and they didn't actually lose a guinea pig that prompted them.
They must have learned that the hard way at some point.
I hope not, but it's actually interesting because I've seen a fair number of guinea pig habitats, and this is the first one I've seen netted over. So I wonder why it is an issue. Maybe it's because the zoo is a bit less forested, a lot more open, but yeah. So over here we have some real dinosaurs.
Boy,
look at them, beautiful, truly majestic creatures.
Frequently sort of meme going around concerning chickens, and people are like, "Oh, chickens are like the most genetically similar bird to dinosaurs," but that's kind of a misnomer because all birds are just like they're all birds, and they're all
equally close,
equally related to dinosaurs because they are dinosaurs. So in terms of like most primitive birds that are currently living, you would get stuff like the ostriches and emus and cassowaries, which split off from other birds about like 50 million years ago. So the dinosaurs were like gone. Non-avian dinosaurs were gone at that point, but those are the most primitive living birds, and that is a velociraptor. Okay, if they insist.
And we can tell here on the sign they say things like, "It actually had feathers. This is actually what it looked like. This is actually what the size was." They're correcting it a little bit through the sign.
Yeah, you see, I volunteered at a local museum in high school, and they had a very Jurassic Parky velociraptor model, and they also had a sign sort of covering their asses about it. So
and what was interesting about that velociraptor is that it was making the Jurassic Park like dolphin screeches velociraptor sound. So they do have the license for it. I don't know why the T-Rex wasn't using the T-Rex scream, but whatever. So here's Bird Kingdom, which is closed, well, partially closed due to the avian flu going around still. But what I was here to see was this part, which was closed during COVID. I don't know why we weren't allowed to walk up to this window, but this is the wolf habitat, which you can see is separated from the bears in the background. It actually used to be joined together, but there was an incident, and even though they said shortly after the incident they weren't going to change anything, apparently they did. They probably wanted to be safe and sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the wolves had a bad day.
Oh, God. I don't know why any zoo thought that was a good idea. Cause
I mean, it still happens a lot. A zoo I was at recently still has them together, but they have a lot more space, which is probably what helps in keeping them, because it is enriching to them. But yeah, here we have a dinosaur you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, Oviraptor, which appears to be stealing an egg, which actually I don't think should be entirely ruled out, because once we realized the Oviraptor was actually looking after the eggs in the fossil and that they actually did belong to the Oviraptor, people were like, nope, it wouldn't have eaten eggs actually ever. But I do think that beak would have been pretty good for crushing eggs, and a lot of talk about it eating like nuts and shellfish like that, but just hard stuff in general. But I think eggs shouldn't be ruled out entirely.
I do have to say, this is my favorite noise of all of them.
What is it doing? Oh,
it's like honking or something.
I mean, I don't see why not. Yeah, that is another one like the Velociraptor that definitely should have more feathers.
Right. Yeah. So over here, this was also closed. Like, all these fun little nooks and crannies were closed before, but I'm really happy to be able to check them out, because I love these kind of viewing areas that really get you kind of feeling like you're inside of the habitat. And when the animals get close, that's just such a cool experience. So yeah.
And this is a really good example of like the tread lines you see happening in like foliage where the animals will walk most frequently. You see like the little natural like organic trails popping up in the grass there.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Then are these a specific subspecies?
The Siberian tigers. So the Amur tigers, basically. And we can see the smallest bit of reverse habitat possible. And we have another peek over here. This is the cheetah habitat, which are hidden at the moment. So, but yeah, I just like these little peek holes. But yeah, so over here there's also something that we did look at in the previous episode, but we didn't go inside. And there's a school bus over here. An American school bus, because of course in America, or Alaska specifically, you have a chance to sit in your school bus and see a polar bear. So that's why that's why they have a school bus here as a viewing area. It's kind of been trashed by all the kids playing in it, but yeah, I just thought that was fun.
Interesting bit of theming.
It's an interesting bit of theming. I mean, it's that kind of cheaper kind of theming, I guess. Just, you get a bus and bam, we're done. But I mean, it did theme the entire like food area around a bus stop as well, which is pretty fun. But yeah, this is something I completely missed. Like, I did not know where to find this habitat when I was here last time. But here we have some of the backstage of all the bears, and just kind of hidden in the midst of all that, we have a Arctic fox habitat. So it's just kind of like right here. I completely missed it. Like, this zoo is a little bit of a maze. I feel like you're supposed to, maybe it was intended not to have that one circle of walking route, but now, especially with the avian flu as well, one of the big branching paths is inside of a giant aviary. So with the bird flu kind of having to close down that aviary partially, I feel like that part of the walking trail might be ruined a little bit. But yeah, we see over here, actually, going back in time again, like half a year ago, I did actually see the Arctic fox, so here you can see a little boy.
Very cute.
Very cute, indeed. Yeah, just a nice little simple habitat. It's kind of... It looks a little weird because of all the tall fences around it, which are for the polar bears, not for the fox.
Yeah. I do think that looks pretty cool, though. I've come to appreciate the sort of predator fencing, like where it comes the diagonal at the top. I actually think it looks really cool.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. I think that habitat might speak to you a little bit as well in terms of like cramming stuff into kind of like, oh, we have this tiny corner in between these two polar bear habitats. Let's just cram an Arctic fox in there.
But Dilophosaurus number 2, it seems.
Number 2, it's slightly different. I feel like it's a little bit more recent. At least the not in terms of accuracy, perhaps, but I feel like the quality of the thing, it doesn't look as worn down.
Yeah, it definitely looks a little less toy-ish. It has a lot more like skin detail. But something I can speak on regarding the accuracy is that Dilophosaurus was pretty primitive as far as theropods go, and the earliest dinosaurs, like very earliest ones, had 5 fingers, and it branched off into the other dinosaur groups, and then you get to ones like these, which actually did have 4 fingers instead of 3, which is what we see here. And then you get to stuff like Allosaurus and Velociraptor, which have 3, and then some like T-Rex, which have 2. And then there's some really weird ones like the Alvarezsaurids, which were sort of anteater like termite specialists, which had just a single finger, which had a big claw on it, and that's what they used to...
I wonder if I didn't pay attention to that. So this is super cool. Definitely done on purpose by the zoo, placing the Triceratops next to the Indian rhino. It's a little small.
Yeah, I was gonna say a very little Triceratops, but
very little baby boy. Maybe they didn't want to overshadow the rhino. Yeah. One more thing about the Dilophosaurus, which people may have noticed watching. That one was making the T-Rex noise from Jurassic Park.
Oh, okay.
So I don't understand it. But yeah, here we have the trike.
Something interesting about the Triceratops model here is the like sort of pockets in the frill part of it. The little round pits. Those are like present on some ceratopsians, like the Cosmoceratops definitely would have had those, but Triceratops's frill was very much just a single sheet of bone with no like holes in it. So it's a pretty common mistake in paleo art, like specifically outdated paleo art.
Like, do they know why they had those holes? Is it to like help in combat, like when they get pierced or stuff like that?
Not really. I think it was mostly just to lighten it.
Right. That makes sense.
You see, that's another reason why dinosaurs have hollow bones, is to just make things lighter, because otherwise they definitely wouldn't have been able to walk.
Right. So yeah. So another stall over here. And this is actually a very interesting one for me, because I took a lot of inspiration from this stall when I made my own Indian rhino stall for Carlos.
Yeah.
And
is that required pool?
Yep, exactly. Got a pool in the middle, which has like a whole filtration system. There's actually a lot of things I've heard about this habitat, or this stall in particular. Mostly in regards to the outdoor area, which they didn't have a lot of good drainage for it, so it ended up flooding pretty often. So I had to do a lot of that. But this is actually the coolest thing inside of this stall. Over here we have an educational exhibit about how many of each species of rhino are left in the wild. So here we have the white rhino, the black rhino, and it's all represented by these little foam balls.
Yeah.
So we got the Indian rhino over here, 3,000 left, and then things get depressing with the Sumatran and the Javan rhino, like
Yeah.
Just
So
barely a handful of individuals left.
so depressing when you like quantify it with like objects because you see like a number on a screen or a piece of paper and you're like, okay, that's a decent amount, but then you see like 60 like beads and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah, that
we're in
is
trouble.
Yeah, so it's a really strong little
Yeah,
message,
definitely.
and I really like it. And over here we've got a replica rhino head, so you can kind of
I
really
love
get up
that.
close and yeah, have a little touch, have a little feel like what the animal is like. It's not a real rhino; it's a replica. It's not
That
a
is
stuffed one,
so that is
but it's
extremely
so
like
good.
high quality model. Yeah.
Exactly. The dinosaurs have a lot to learn from that.
Yeah.
I feel good mocking them a little bit because the event's already over. It's not like I'm taking away their tickets at this point.
Yeah, and they don't belong to the zoo specifically, so you're
Yeah.
mostly just roasting the company that makes them.
I mean, they're doing what they can. Like it's impossible. I feel like to keep up with every trend in paleontology.
Yeah.
Like new discoveries are being made every day. Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to point out here. These doors are actually motor controlled, which I thought was pretty interesting. All of the gates. So yeah, just pointing it out. But yeah, that was the Rhino stall, which I think
cool.
is basically the last interior. Oh no, there's one more interior that we missed last time. This snowmobile wasn't here last time.
that's
Those crates were there, but the snowmobile was removed. Maybe it was broken or something. I don't know. But yeah,
This is polar bear, I assume.
this is the polar bear. Yeah.
Very nice.
And here we have our next dinosaur, which I think you mentioned this one earlier. So I wonder if we'll actually see the thing you mentioned. Otherwise, nope. Never mind.
Oh.
Oh wait, no. Actually, no. This is not what I thought it was. Wait.
Is it making the like Pterosaurs noise?
I don't know.
Okay, because I heard that like droning noise in the background.
Mm-hmm.
It was that's the reconstructed like sound of a Pterosaurolophus, which is a duck-billed dinosaur. I assume that's like in the distance and not what this one is making. But
I
this
think it's what this one's making.
That is so weird. This is Carnotaurus. Not very accurate Carnotaurus because they've given it a sort of.
I think it's even worse.
What is it?
If we look at the sign, it says that this is an Albertosaurus.
What? That is straight up not. Like it has like the arms, it has the horns, it has like the spikes.
Exactly. That's what I thought as well. Like
It's so weird.
I don't know. This one is also really weird. So this is the irritator,
Oh, okay.
and I don't know how accurate the picture is, right? But I just look at this thing,
Yeah.
and then I looked at the picture, and it just looks.
Yeah.
It looks nothing like the thing.
Yeah, that irritator is by Frederick Wierem, who is a very prominent modern paleo artist, and that was an excellent reconstruction of it, like this, which is decidedly again bulky, wrinkly, toy-like,
Monsterized.
usual. Yeah, monsterized.
Yeah. So here's a few that we couldn't get to last time. They kind of opened up a little bit more of the aviary now by hanging up these like vertical nets, giving you a little bit more to see of the Humboldt penguin habitat over here. I realize now that we're watching this back, it's a little bit jarring to be jumping all over the place, but otherwise this video would be like twice the length.
Yeah.
So if you've watched the other video, which admittedly is a lot shorter than this, so you should be able to you'll kind of be able to place where these things are. But over here, we have a very popular one. Stegosaurus. So what I wanted to ask you about this one is these droopy plates.
Oh yeah.
Are they just drooping because they're made of rubber, or is this actually something?
So back when I presume this model was made, the flexibility of the plates was being debated, and some people thought maybe they could have been like physically, like the animal could have like consciously moved them up and down. But we now know that they were just like bones, and there wouldn't have been any muscles attached to them that would have allowed for any sort of movement. They would have just been held up permanently. So
Right,
that's
okay.
not really a...
So it might have been a conscious decision back then, but that must be
maybe
dated now.
But I can't be too sure.
Right. So this is the final kind of interior that we didn't get to see last time, which I was really bummed out by because this is really cool. And this is for the red gara fish, which you may know is the little fish that eat all of your dead skin cells and stuff like that.
Oh, interesting.
So they have this big pool over here, and you can actually see over here the entire filtration system, so take your screenshots. But yeah, they've got this big pool where you can actually stick in your hands and have the fish eat your skin.
It's very interesting for a zoo. I was expecting like a because in American zoos, a very recent trend is to have like a stingray touch pool, and they're almost always called Stingray Bay because we just can't help ourselves. But yeah, this is very novel.
Yeah, I thought this was so cool. So I came prepared, and I brought my little GoPro, my cheap ass GoPro, in the hope that I would get some awesome shots of the fish swarming the hand holding the GoPro, or being able to film them up close. But I think somehow the fish were afraid of my GoPro, so I was only able to get a few shots of them swimming away.
It took like one bite out of it, and we're like, pass.
And then they're all gone. And I was just like, come on, guys! I tried hard for this. But yeah, you can actually see it better in the main footage than in the GoPro footage as well. And this is half a year ago, so where I have my mom record me, who then decided to zoom in all the way and get lost and doesn't know how cameras work. So this is also the only footage I was able to get from that. So as a punishment, I had her do it as well, so you can see.
That's so cool. It's wacky how like they stay on your hand when you move it. They're like leeches.
And it's a really surreal feeling, but it actually does feel kind of nice once you get used to it. And of course, you can't have a water-themed thing without a beamer putting some of that effect on the wall, which I think always looks pretty cool. So yeah, moving along here, we have our final, our almost final little shortcut. Over here we have a little bit of backstage of that giant aviary, and we. I think this particular building is probably for the flamingo or the pelicans. But if we go up here, we actually see what I think is an older entrance to the bird kingdom. It looks like it hasn't been used for a very long time, but then again, the bird flu has been around for like almost a year, it feels like. But yeah, this entrance has been meshed off. You can see the path is starting to get all overgrown.
Yeah.
I don't think this has seen any people in a long time. But what we can also see out here is the backstage door for the griffin vulture aviary. And there's just this pile of logs, which I think is like an insect hotel as well. And we can see all of these power lines and stuff just towering above the zoo. And yeah, this brings us back to where we were earlier. So this is kind of on top of this big hill where we have some Scottish Highland cattle, and we can see that guinea pig habitat from earlier and the velociraptor in the background. So let's move on. Alright, so with that out of the way, we are across the lion habitat, and this is also an area we weren't able to go to last time. We have a little bit of a beaver dam sort of ID, where we can see the Canadian beaver.
Aww.
And once again, like, almost they've made this area so that the outside light doesn't obstruct your view too much. They just had to curve that tunnel a little more and it would have been perfect, but maybe the space doesn't allow for it, I don't know. But it's just a slight bummer that it's like, oh, you almost did it.
Those guys.
But yeah, and over here we do actually have our last bit of access to that kind of backstage maze. It's not a maze, just the backstage shortcut area. With another view of that chimpanzee habitat, and back there we can see those windows where we were at earlier in the video. And if you were to go straight ahead here, you would get to that little playground we saw.
That chip exhibit reminds me a lot of the one at Bergen, at least your version of it, because I haven't seen too much footage of the real thing, where it's this like island with the rope.
Well, what it differs with for this one is that it has a bit more of these shelters into the hills. But yeah, over here we have an Ankylosaurus, which is a bit hidden in the shrub here, and seems to have bitten off its tongue.
I know, there was that weird like bit of tissue there.
Yeah, I don't know. Gotta love it. I mean, I do. It brings some interesting choices, but I do like how the noises help make it a little bit more alive. I wonder what the animals thought about it when the dinosaurs were first placed. I'm sure they get used to it after like a day.
Ones that can see the dinosaurs, yeah.
But yeah, here's our final dinosaur display, and we actually had a little discussion about this on Discord already when I first showed you this. First of all, we have, of course, the velociraptor noises.
Yeah,
for our,
I heard that immediately.
But yeah, what's interesting here is that there's two signs. One of them says Allosaurus, and the other says Iguanodon. Now, of course, I can see that we have an Iguanodon here, but that thing over there, that's not an Iguanodon.
Weird. I was gonna say weird hands on that thing.
Yeah.
Also,
like,
no Allosaurus in sight, unless that theropod, which I assumed was a Deinonychus, on Dinosaurus, which is the famous fossil that I assumed this was referencing, but apparently not.
Yeah, maybe they made a mistake in the science. I don't know. But yeah, the only thing I could guess that other thing might be like a Pterosaurs.
Yeah, it has to be, because the claws that are really floppy. But yeah, that would be like a predated depiction of a Therizinosaur, because we used to think they were actually like part of the sauropod family, because we didn't really have a concept of like a herbivorous theropod. But yeah, that's pretty par for the course, but still a bit confusing because it does look a lot like an iguanodon despite the hands.
Yeah, like it's weird. Maybe it's just they took an iguanodon rig and just added those claws to it or something. But yeah. So one more time, get your screenshots. Over here we have the backstage of the chimps. There was a door open and I took my shot. So you can see there's like a little tap and a bunch of gates, a ladder to go up to that meshed ceiling area. Yeah, we are finishing up. So of course a special Dino event goes with a special Dino meal. So we have a Dino box, and they also have a Dino burger, I think. Yeah, we can see it over there, the Dino burger. I'm pretty sure it's just their regular burger that they always have in their menu, but now it's a Dino burger.
It's a Dino burger. Love it.
And also, if we go into the restaurant in a second, we'll see that they do have a bit of special decoration for the Dino event as well. And you can already see some of them. I wonder if it really was just calling all employees, please take to work your Dino toys.
You guys have any toys you want us to borrow?
But yeah, and we have a very quick shot of the restaurant, because I'm way too awkward to get a proper shot of that.
I don't blame you.
And of course the gift shop that we saw at the start as well has a bunch of little Dino themed gifts as well.
Very cool.
Which I'm guessing were just here for the event. I haven't gone back to check. Maybe they'll keep them around until they're out of the stock. But yeah.
I think I've seen some of these books before in English.
Yeah, I actually the other day decided to buy the big dinosaur book that I had as a kid, but now in English. And I got it in the mail, and it's like a quarter the size. It's like the mini version of it. But it's still cool. It's still cool to get some childhood memories going again. Because yeah, I used to be so much into dinos. I don't know what happened, but it's time I get back on that. So yeah, we're back outside here with our
mystery theropod. Yeah.
And I want to thank you for joining me, Wyatt. This was very fun. I think I learned a couple new things about the dinos. And yeah,
always good to hear.
Head to my little bike over here and cycle home, because yeah, I'm lucky enough that this zoo is in cycling distance from me. But yeah, thanks for joining me, Wyatt, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Of course, definitely. You guys have a good one.
Bye bye.